Spurge here with my buddy Patrick Garvin, who you might recognize from J&P Cycles. He's been making great motorcycle content over on their YouTube channel for years. He's been a fan favorite guest on the High Side, Low Side Motorcycle Podcast. Patrick, welcome to the podcast yet again.
Thank you so much for having me back, guys. This is awesome.
And he rides a lot of different motorcycles with a lot of different type of tires, all of which makes him the perfect option for co-hosting this year's Best Motorcycle Tires of 2023 video.
With an intro like that, I'm more impressive than I even realized. Spurgeon and I have spent the past year riding all types of bikes on all types of terrain, from the street to the dirt, and sometimes even riding together.
Needless to say, we are very confident that we've got some great tire winners for you this year, spread over 6 different categories.
Let's kick things off on the road with our first category, Best All-Around Tire for the Street. And that's going to be the Michelin Road 6s.
So the Michelin Road Series is sport touring royalty at this point, and the Road 6 tires carry on that tradition with all the improved grip and longevity that you'd expect from a new Michelin Road variant. But there's so much more than just a touring tire. They really are the best all-around tire for folks who want maximum grip and sport performance, all from a tire that doesn't need to be changed every 2,000 miles.
If you remember back to last year's guide, we talked about the Road 5s and the incredible mileage people were seeing. And now Michelin is claiming an increase of up to 10% more mileage in the 6s.
To give you an idea of what that means, we had actually tested the Road 5s on a Triumph Street Triple R, and we're getting nearly 18,000 miles of street use out of a rear, which is incredible. So to get an extra 10% means almost 2,000 more miles before having to swap them out with the Road 6s.
That's pretty impressive mental math right there.
Oh, I used a calculator. But math aside, the one note here is that mileage will vary based on the weight of your bike, tire pressure, how you're using them, etc. But overall, these are just awesome tires.
I use these in my KTM 690 Supermoto, and frankly, I'd put them up against nearly any other tire for street performance. They handled twisty roads, rain, and even some light dirt use in a way that a typical Hypersport tire would have balked at.
Now, the too long didn't read here is that the Road 6s are going to be our top recommendation for most street riders watching this video.
Now let's move on to one of my favorite categories, Best Cruiser Tires for Performance and Mileage.
So most conversations around tires in the world of cruisers tend to focus on mileage over everything else, but there are a lot of folks riding cruisers that still demand grip and performance, and for them, we recommend the Metzeler Cruise Tech tires.
I've spent more years than I can care to remember hanging out the J&P Cycles lot during Sturgis Bike Week, helping install tires. And believe me when I tell you, there isn't a better cruiser tire out there if you're looking for grip. This is top of the food chain.
So I know that the Commander 3s have gotten a lot of attention from us in the past because of their incredible mileage statistics, but they do have some performance limitations, especially in wet weather conditions. They're also a bit difficult to install because of their heavy-duty sidewall. Or at least that's what Patrick tells me, because I don't install my own tires. I have a guy for that.
Yeah, it's me. I'm the guy.
You installed one tire for me one time and I helped you.
Joking aside, Spurge is right. What sold me on the Cruise Techs was when I used them on an Indian Challenger. That's a big bike. I was surprised with the cornering confidence I had pushing that bike through the twisties and the stability it provided on the highway.
And while it's not a high mileage tire by cruiser standards, you should still expect to see roughly 8,000 to 12,000 miles out of a rear.
For those of you that are looking for a high mileage tire, we'd recommend the Dunlop American Elite. These are the flagship tires for Harley-Davidson, and they are made and tested in America, and they do a great job of blending mileage and rideability.
The American Elite is a dual compound tire with a harder center compound down the middle for burning down the highway and racking up miles, with a softer compound at the side that's going to be ideal for improved cornering grip. Now, while some customers are going to report getting upwards of 20,000 miles out of a rear with these, we would say that 12,000 to 15,000 miles is most likely going to be your average.
Those are some great options for you cruiser riders, but now let's move on to some recommendations for you fast guys and gals with the best sport track tire.
And our pick this year goes to the Dunlop Q3 Plus tire because it's an incredibly versatile sport tire that's a favorite for riders that use their motorcycle both on the street as well as on the racetrack.
These are the go-to option for our colleague Jen Dunstan on the track. She liked the fact that they provide incredible grip and predictable turn-in and handling. In addition to that, it also provides longevity, which means fewer tire changes and more money left over for paying for track days.
And it's not just Jen. These tires actually came off of an R6 that we've been using here at the office for track testing, and the Q3 Pluses have become a go-to tire for California Superbike School. Keeping in mind that the rear Q3 Plus features Dunlop's multi-tread technology and has a harder center compound for better life, which means you're gonna get more laps around the racetrack or down your favorite country road on a Saturday morning. On average, most riders on the street can expect to see roughly 4,000 miles out of a rear.
The new Q5S is going to be very similar, if not more advanced in its design, but it's also going to be more expensive. And while it's worth having a look at this point, we're sticking with the Q3 Plus as our top pick for best street and track tire out there.
So let's move on to the next category, which is one of my personal favorites, adventure tires. And for this section, we broke up our recommendations into 3 subcategories: ADV Road-Centric, ADV 50/50, and ADV Off-Road.
While Spurgeon and I prefer to ride our ADV bikes more like big dirt bikes, we completely understand why this category is such a popular choice for modern day sport touring riders. The bikes are comfortable, they can be loaded to the nines for travel and handle great in the corners. So if you're someone who rides their ADV bike primarily on the street, the Continental Trail Attack 3 tires are going to be our pick for you.
So from canyon carving to long haul touring, the Trail Attack 3s are going to be a great choice. Continental uses what they call multi-grip technology, which is really just fancy speak for what we've been talking about with a lot of different tires in this video. It's a combination of hard and soft compounds. This allows for great cornering grip and feel, as well as solid mileage wear when you're rolling down the highway.
I like the fact that these are available in a wide range of sizes that will work for ADV bikes of all makes and models, including options for 21-inch front wheels. They also have options for tube-type tires as well as tubeless cross-spoke wheels.
Just keep in mind that if you're looking at these, they are going to be limited to pretty much on-road use only. You're not going to want to go too far off the pavement with the Trail Attack 3s. For that, you're going to want to go with our next pick, the Bridgestone Battle Axe Adventure Cross AX41 tires.
The AX41s are our pick for those of you riders looking for a great 50/50 option to use both on-road as well as off. While Bridgestone says these are more of a 60/40 tire favoring the off-road, I found them to be incredibly planted and stable on the street, especially compared to the other options in this category.
Now, I've had quite a bit of experience with these tires, and you can typically see somewhere between 3,000 to 4,000 miles out of a rear, depending on how you're using them, which is par for the course within this category. But one of the notes that I will make is that even when the tread gets low, they don't just give up their mechanical grip off-road like I've seen from some other tires out there.
I'm sure there are a lot of experienced ADV riders out there wondering why the TKC80s aren't being mentioned. But the truth is, Continental has been struggling with inventory issues on the TKC80s over the past year, making them hard to get in all sizes.
Also, these Bridgestones cost less. When comparing prices for a KTM 890, the Bridgestones were roughly $150 less than the TKC80s. That's a big difference considering how often we're replacing rear tires on adventure bikes.
The old inverse effect. The more aggressive the tread pattern, the quicker they wear out. Which brings us to our final pick, the best ADV tire for off-road use. And the winner goes to the Pirelli Scorpion Rally tire.
So I've included these in our gear guides in years past and received complaints from our viewers that didn't like them at all. After some back and forth, I came to find that they were simply using them wrong. If you are looking for a tire that's great on the street and is going to provide great longevity, these are not for you. Check out the last 2 ADV categories that we discussed. However, these have become my favorite for just hands down the best off-road grip out of any DOT tire that I've used on an adventure bike yet.
Just look at the tread pattern on this front tire. You can really push this tire even on a big, heavy 500-pound machine. From slick mud to deep sand to rocks and ruts, the Scorpion Rallies eat up the terrain with ease.
So I first used them at a launch for the Triumph Tiger 900. I later added them to my personal KTM 890 Rally. And while I think that these are going to handle themselves, good enough on the street to still have some fun, they're really aimed at folks out there spending the majority of the time off-road with an adventure bike. So if you like spirited off-road performance out of your big ADV machine, this tire's got grip for days and then some.
They do wear rather quickly. Folks should expect to get somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000 miles out of the rear. And with that, let's get into our final 2 sections. First, the best tires for motocross riding, and then we'll get into the best options for performance trail riding.
So Patrick and I do not ride motocross ourselves. However, there are plenty of people within these walls that do. And the #1 response we received for this category was the Dunlop MX series.
Not only are these favored by our staff, but they're one of the best-selling motocross tires in the US. That being said, you want to consider your terrain and performance needs before selecting the right combo for you.
So the Dunlop MX-33s feature a harder compound than the uber-soft MX-3Ss, and while they sacrifice a bit of full lean grip over the MX-3Ss, they're still a very confidence-inspiring tire for the corner. But they are going to wear a bit better and last a bit longer than the super soft option.
The MX-53 is good for intermediate to harder terrain. They're more limited with their full lean grip without having something to bank off of. However, they wear really well and work to maximize tire life in the rear.
While we would encourage you to mix and match between the MX-3S, the MX-33, and the MX-53 tires to find the right combination of front and rear for your personal preference, a great starting point for the every rider out there would be to go with an MX-33 up front and an MX-53 at the rear.
Now, for those of you that like riding off-road but prefer the woods and the trails over the track, our final category is for you. The best performance trail tires, with the winner going to the Bridgestone M59 tire for the front and the IRC VE33S in the rear.
So this category is for folks that like pushing the limits of a dirt bike while also dodging trees, hitting rock gardens and steep climbs, and blasting sand whoops for miles. And we tried to come up with a great combination of tires that will work for riders tackling any and all terrain.
Unlike the MX category, Spurgeon and I spend a lot of our time riding dirt bikes on trails, me out in South Dakota and him here on the mean streets of Philadelphia.
I mean, the potholes are ridiculous.
But for real, we could have probably picked this category as winner completely on our own. But we wanted to get some input from folks that are trying out some tires that we haven't thought to consider yet, and that's where our pick for the IRC VE33S for the rear comes from.
For what it's worth, I still am a fan of the Shinko 525 hybrid cheater tires out in the rear. However, the amount of folks raving about the IRC couldn't be ignored. Nothing but positive feedback around how much grip they were providing in both hard and soft terrains. The gummy Gakota compound is designed to provide great grip and also absorb bumps, but it's going to last for more than just a handful of rides.
And for the front, we recommend pairing the IRC with the Bridgestone M59. There are a ton of great reviews on this tire, but beyond that, this is the go-to tire for nearly all of the trail riders and enduro races here. I use this on my Cowie 450, and I know Spurge uses an M59 on his 350.
I love this tire. I like the fact that you can push the hell out of it. It works great over roots and rocks, slippery mud and sand, pretty much whatever you want to throw at it. It'll dig in hard during aggressive leans, yet not burn up too quickly. It's an excellent do-anything option for running on your front wheel. And it's also the last tire in this guide, which means we have come to the end of our video where we have discussed with you, the viewer, our best tires of 2023.
You can also see our top picks for gear across all genres of riding by clicking the link below. And don't forget to check out the detailed breakdown videos for all the tires you've seen here today.
And if you are still feeling unsure as to which gear and what tires are right for you and your riding style, please do not hesitate to reach out to one of our customer service reps. They can walk you through all the different tires available, make sure that you have the right rubber for your wheels as well as your budget.
We want to thank you for watching this video. Now go work on those motorcycles.
Enjoy the ride.